This is Matt with Mobility 101, and right now we're going to go over Technique Fix Friday. This is week 4, and we're going to go over the one-arm row, okay? So first thing I want to look at is the actual setup and kind of which way to go and navigate from that point, okay? So I see a lot of people do the version where they're, just imagine this is a full gym bench, not just a ply box, and they have their knee on it, and they have one arm on it for stability, and they're kind of just rowing away like that, right? There's nothing wrong with this exercise. It is a good option to pick. However, I just prefer the 3-point athletic stance version. I just prefer it more so for the athletic population that I work with, and plus, you know, the added benefit is that it's kind of a bang for your buck type exercise where, what I mean by that is you get a lot of hip stability and core activation in the drill, as well as that kind of anti-rotation and anti-extension pattern, okay? Especially in terms of how you set up for it, and it's a direct crossover per athletics and sports, right? So I like that option. I go with 3-point stance. Also keep in mind, you know, whichever bell you're using, so kettlebell or dumbbell, just know that with a kettlebell you get more forearm recruitment and grip strength as added benefits from it, okay? Nothing wrong with the dumbbell. You know, if I have access to the kettlebell, I'll just use that. Simple as that, okay? Pick your option in terms of the setup as well as the bell you're choosing, and then kind of go from there. But for purposes of this video, we're going to go over the one-arm row because that's my preference, right? So first thing I want to look at is the actual setup of your form and your technique in it, okay? So what we see a lot is people they'll kind of jam themselves like this, and they'll kind of roll away like that, and they're really not getting anything we want in terms of benefits from this exercise. We're not getting lat engaged, we're not getting core stability in that anti-rotation pattern, and we're kind of just slumping forward with awful posture. We want to avoid that, okay? So how this shows in the gym is we'll see that extended neck like that, we'll see a hunched back. Okay, a way to avoid it, lengthen the lever. It's simple as that. Step out. Oh wow, look, more core activation, more anti-rotation stability. This is what we want, okay? Once we're there, bend the elbow that's stabilizing it slightly. So we don't want that straight on, we want a slight elbow bend, okay? Once we're there, firm grip, head to butt, straight line, hips are bent slightly, knees are bent slightly. My feet, I'm on the balls of my feet, active feet, athletic position, 3-point stance. Once I'm there, gently tuck my chin to my chest. What I mean by that is, if I nod to you yes, take 1/10 of that degrees of motion, just 1/10, and then gently tuck my chin to my chest. How that shows here is, what I mean by that is, once we're gently tucked, that reminds you to not extend when you row. I can't tell you how many times I see people row and they rotate and kind of crank on like that, in addition to kind of extending their neck like that, okay? So we don't want any of that motion going on, okay? Ways to avoid that is, I know the big thing we say is big chest, right? To kind of get out of that slouch posture. I use it a lot, it's a great cue. However, I can't tell how many times I see the athlete or the client, when I say big chest, they do this, right? For some reason, I don't know where they learned it, which anatomy book, their head is not their chest. However, understanding that if we enforce the tuck chin, gentle tuck chin before we row, and then say keep the tuck chin, and then big chest, it gives them a better way to understand, oh, okay, I've already set up my head and my neck, that's not my head, that's not my chest, I have to make big chest here. It just helps in terms of the setup and reminding them what they should be moving and how they should be using proper technique and form. So another piece we want to look at is the actual pattern of the rowing. So we want to get away from that bottom to top straight line row. Yes, in standing rowing, we're getting that horizontal pull. Okay, that makes sense there. However, we want to look at that J motion, or that hook motion that Lee Boyce talks about, in accordance to the actual the way the muscle fibers of the lats actually run. So if we set ourselves up in front slightly and kind of row just like that, so it's front to back in kind of that J hooked motion, we get more activation from the lats, which is what we want in this exercise, okay? Okay. Another piece we want to look at in terms of long-term shoulder health is realizing that we want to avoid that anterior glide of the humeral head, so we don't want any of that cranking, that kind of pivoting forward of the humerus at the top. So we want to try to avoid that by imagining a $100 bill or your hand in your armpit, nice and tight, big chest, tuck your chin, flat back. We don't want to give to any extension or compensate that way. We're going to row, keeping our arm close to the side, not dropping that money or our hand. And yes, the elbow can get slightly past the side, but not at the expense of dumping forward at the front of the humerus, okay? So it should look like this. Okay, keeping in mind to utilize this when we put that piece into the puzzle there in the actual exercise, okay? The last thing we want to look at is, and you know, I kind of brushed on it earlier, that cranking. So what we don't want is anything where we're cranking excessively, okay? Yes, we do want to move a little bit just to get that full range, to get that elbow slightly past the side, not too excessively, but we don't want to compensate and really crank up just to get heavier in the weights. Own the movement and then increase load, okay? Once we're there, I tuck my chin. I have a long lever, so I step far away from it, get more core activation, anti-rotation, and that stability in the core, hip stability, okay? Balls of my feet, slight elbow bend, okay? Big chest, flat back, and all I'm going to do is start right in front, use that J motion. Imagine the $100 bill in my armpit, and all I'm going to do is just crank away. So give those pointers a shot and those technique fixes next time you try your rowing patterns and see if they work for you, all right? I hope it helps. Thanks.